Hello to my old friends and my new friends. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Today is going to be less about the makeup and more about worst dating stories. So I have some stories I'm going to read to you guys. So I apologize if I'm not looking at the camera a lot. My laptop is to the side of me, so I have to look over there to read it. Yeah, I got a couple, so I think, they're kind of interesting. And if you guys want to, if I get enough comments more often, we can do this like weekly. Okay, so we're going to go with the first one. This one, she says, worst date was back in my Navy days. I was like 18, and this guy was stationed with invited his cousin out to visit him, and we all met up at the club. He was super cute, and after the drinks and having a good night, he came to my apartment. We hung out, had a good time, and the next day I drive and go to work on the base and leave him there. I come home, oh my gosh, and all my records were gone. He stole them. I was done. What a jerk. He ended up staying in town with some guys from the base and kept denying that he ever stole them. How sucky would that be? You leave a guy in your apartment, and then he steals from you? Like, what kind of a douchebag? Let's get my foundation done and we'll go on to the next. Have you guys ever done that? Like, ever had somebody take something from you or had something similar to that happen? That would be awful. Like, I would be furious, especially if it's like a collection. Like if you're like a record collector or a collector of something, and then you come back and whatever it is that you've been collecting is just gone. Okay, I'm going to add some concealer really quick because I can't do that and reread this. But yeah, if you guys have any like dating horror stories, let me know. Let's all commiserate together that we dated some douchebags. Okay, so we're a little closer. Hopefully I'm not right in your guys' faces. My tripod fell and I don't really remember what position it was in, but it feels like you guys were closer. Okay, so the next story, she says this definitely wasn't the worst though. She said, I was 16. I had a guy stand me up because he wasn't getting any. This was before cell phones, so I had no one to call. One of his friends walked me across 2 towns in the middle of the night. Oh my gosh, could you imagine the audacity of a guy to just assume that he's going to get lucky just because he takes you on a date? Freaking douchebag. Obviously, if you guys watched my previous video, then you know that I have a similar story, but mine didn't leave me across 2 cities. Mine left me in another state. So I had to find my way back to Utah from California. Okay. So we've got one that's kind of longer, so I'm waiting for a second to read that one. Okay, so this one's a long one. This is a kind of a horrible story. I'm like, dude, should have pressed charges. This guy deserves to go to jail. So I need to do some of my makeup before I start reading this because I'm not going to be able to do much. Okay, so she says, one of my crazy stories is a guy I knew invited me and my friend to see his dad's boat back in France. Imagine that must have been nice. I was about 16. I hesitated to join him as it was in the middle of the night, but that was the only time he could get the keys to his father's boat because his father would never let him inside it. So I snuck out of the house at about 2 a.m. and was expecting a simple boat, but it was actually a massive white yacht. So we both were standing there, and I'm asking him, where's Melissa, her friend? So she thought he invited her and her friend. Sorry, hold on, I lost what I was reading. He's like, oh, she couldn't make it. I'm messaging her and she won't reply back. So he goes ahead and invites me and gives me a tour. I'm like, wow, it was massive and luxurious. So then he asks me if I would like to get into the jacuzzi. I'm like, no, I'm not risking that. I want to quickly go home. It's getting cold and I don't want my parents to notice that I'm gone. Which, I mean, like most of us understand, like you get kind of afraid that you snuck out and you're like, shoot, let them find out and I'm dead. Because I would lose their trust. So, and she says, why are we so stupid when we're young? I mean, isn't it better to tell the truth than to do this? She's like, so then he's like, no, relax, let me bring something. And he goes and grabs some whiskey. Which I refuse because I always feel so sick after drinking that I just hated it. Anyways, long story short, he drinks a bit and I'm just like, let's go now. And he says, yes, we will. Wait, blah, blah, blah. Then he tries touching me and I'm like, hell no. I'm pushing him away and getting angry as there was another guy that I had a crush on and he knew it. I go towards the door to try to open it and realize it's locked. I'm like, oh my God, I'm shouting at him, open the door. And he's like, no, I'm not. You joined me, now you're staying. I'm like, WTF, stop being a DICK, open the door. And he's like, no, and starts to undress. Whoa, that's when I started to freak out and lose myself. Can you imagine? She's 16 at this time, so she's just a kid. Like, how do you even deal with a douche doing that? Hold on, I have to fix this. I feel like you guys are way too close. This is just kind of... Okay, I had to finish a little bit more of my makeup before we kept going. So she says, he came closer to me and I hit him a few times, telling him to stop. Stop it, you're drunk. You drank too much. Anyways, he grabs me and throws me on the bed. He was like 2 times my height and tried to touch me while I was shouting and hitting and scratching him. Then we hear footsteps. He immediately stops. His reaction was way too fast for a drunk person, believe me. So basically she's saying he was not as drunk as he was making it seem like he was. Guys, I swear some of them can be just horrible. He was trying to put his clothes on real quick. That's when I shouted and screamed even louder while he was trying to hold my mouth shut, but I kept biting his hand. Anyways, then someone opens the door and guess who it was? It was his father. Oh my God, his father and his aunt. She was wearing almost nothing, a very short summer dress and her with bright red lipstick all over her face. All over his face, okay. They both stared at each other for a few seconds before his father grabbed him and pulled him away. Pulled him away from me and apologized to me, offering me help and money for what his son did. I refused and said, I want nothing from you. That their family was disgusting. I started crying, and that's when he slapped his son, and the aunt was like, oh my God, come here, calming me down, blah, blah, blah. The thing is, I never told my aunt, or I never told my parents, as they would blame me for lying to them. But now that I think about it, I find this story funny, just like in the movies. I never talked or seen him again. He tried to apologize using alcohol as an excuse, but he wasn't drunk when he told my friend Melissa, the friend that he said he couldn't join us. He told her not to join because he didn't get the keys and she was fast asleep at the time. So it was planned from the beginning. All his friends stopped being friends with him after that. I couldn't trust guys after that. I was always scared to go on dates or even be alone with a guy. I never had a boyfriend before that. So when I found out, I never had a boyfriend before that. So when he found out that I had a crush, he got crazy and wanted to be my first. But he definitely wasn't my first. He was definitely my first fear for sure. So his father hid it from his mother because he blackmailed his own father, telling him that if he told his mom that he was going to go ahead and tell his mom that he was cheating on her with his aunt, which I think is a disgusting thing to do to your own parents. After a few years, he found himself with a girlfriend. The same story happened with her, but she accepted to sleep with him because she was from a poor family and he was not. I was not either. She only came to me crying after he broke up with her because of that. He was still into me. That's so terrible. I feel like some guys want what they can't have. That story is terrible. I feel like horrible for her. Like, that kid definitely has predator tendencies, and he probably should have gone to jail, or like at least, I don't know what they have, like in the United States they have detention facilities for minors. It's called like DT, or juvenile detention, JVC. And so I don't really know what other states or countries do. So I'm using the Sigma Enchanted palette. So I'm going to try to use the brush that's in it. Yeah, those are some horrible stories. And I apologize if the way that I told them wasn't like the smoothest. I'm new at reading and doing my makeup at the same time. Maybe I should have tried to memorize the stories before I read them, or before I came on here, but oh well. So, I have a couple of pretty horrible dating stories. There was this one time, so this was the craziest situation ever, okay? So, it was when I had my very first cell phone, and this guy called my phone by accident trying to get a hold of someone else. And I was like, no, you have the wrong number. And he was like, whoa, you sound really cute. Well, he sounded really young too. I was really young. So I was like, oh, thanks, and I was like, yeah, I was out eating with my parents. And so I really was not in the position to be able to sit and have a conversation with him. So I was like, okay, well, thanks, but yeah, you got the wrong number. I gotta go. And he was just like, okay, thanks. And then probably about like an hour later, he called me again, and he's like, hey, you sounded really, really pretty. You sound really, really pretty. I'd like to meet you. I know that sounds kind of weird, but like, would you mind like hanging out sometime? And like, I'm thinking to myself, what? This guy doesn't even know me, freaking weirdo. So I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Like, you're a stranger. And I'm like a kid, I think I was maybe 16 or 17 years old. And he's just like, oh, come on, you'll have a good time, I promise, blah, 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 blah. Well, I didn't give in right away. Like, it took him a couple of days. So he just kept calling, and like we would talk, and he was fun and easy to talk to. And so I was just kind of like, all right, finally, eventually I was just kind of like, okay, sure. Like, we can go hang out. What do you want to do? And we're kids. So he's like, well, come over to my house. Like, we'll watch a movie, He lived with his parents. And so I was like, okay, well, that's not scary. Like, I'm sure they'll probably be there. No big deal. Worst mistake ever. So he was older than me. One second. So he was older than me, and had a really nice car, and not like way, way older, but he was older. And it's kind of dark. So I get to his house, because I had my own car too, but it just wasn't like nice like his. Like he had like this really, really nice car. So I get over to his house, and we're just sitting there. We're kind of watching a movie, and he's like, yeah, this is kind of boring. Like, do you want to go for a drive? And I was like, yeah, I guess. Like, whatever. At this point, I felt like I kind of knew him, which was stupid because I did not at all. And so we're going for a drive, and he's taking me in these areas where I don't really, like, there's no houses. There's, like, no community, really. Like, it's just fields and kind of off-roading a little bit, which I thought was weird because his car was really nice. And so I was kind of like, why would he want to mess up his car? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Whatever. And so I finally was kind of getting a little freaked out, and I was like, okay, I kind of want to go back to the house. Like, I need to go. And he pulls over and parks, and he's like, why? What's wrong? Like, you're not having a good time? And I'm like, no, you're cool. Like, it's fine. But I just think I'm ready to go. And he starts trying to kiss me. And I'm like, whoa, okay, this is like a little too much for me. Like, no. And he is getting like mad at the fact that I won't kiss him. And he's like, you came all the way over here for what? Really? Just to watch a freaking movie? And keep in mind, this guy's like older than me, so I don't know if he's like used to getting his way or what. Because like I said, I was about 16, 17. He was probably about 22. I did not know that because he said he was my age, but I ended up finding out later that he was older. And so he was obviously a lot more experienced than I was in life and in general. And I was like, you told me I was coming over here to watch a movie. You didn't tell me I was coming over here for anything else. So no, I don't want to do anything with you. And he's getting angrier and angrier, and he literally tried to me. I freaked out. I'm like screaming, telling him, get off, get away from me, get away from me. And then I don't know if it like just clicked in his head, like he was like actually ripping my clothes off. And I think he like kind of realized what he was doing and stopped himself, and he goes, I got off. Just remember that, right? I got off. I stopped. You told me to stop, and I stopped. And I was just kind of like, what is going on? Because it was just such like a switch. Like he went from like being like super, super aggressive and not wanting to like get off of me to just like, and then, you know, like ripping my clothes off to all of a sudden like stopping. So I don't know if he'd done that, something like that before, and then was like, oh my gosh, I better stop because I got in trouble before or something. But yeah, he stopped and got in the driver's seat, and he drove me back to my car. And I jumped out, got in my car, and I left. And I never, ever, ever saw him or heard from him again. Which, I mean, thank God. But yeah, it was horrifying. I was just like, dude, I don't know why guys think that they are entitled to anything. Like, why they don't know that no means no. You know, because, I mean, and I'm not speaking for all men. I'm just speaking for the men that have done this. You know, because obviously it happens a lot in this society. Like, when we say no, it means maybe to some men, which is stupid. And yeah, if you have ever gone through something like that, I'm so sorry. It's terrifying. It's horrible. And I'm just glad that I got out of that situation and it didn't happen the way that he probably was hoping it would, which I think he probably would have raped me if he could have, like, gotten away with it. But I don't know what stopped him. Like, I think, like I said, maybe something like a flip, like a switch flipped in his head, like, and he just was like, oh crap, I better stop. It was just so strange. So yeah, you guys tell me your horrible dating stories. I would love to hear them. Even if it's just kind of therapeutic. Maybe you've never told anyone. Maybe you... I lost my blush. And I can't see it on my face anymore. Maybe you kind of wanted to tell somebody and you just haven't. And I think it just kind of, sometimes it feels good to get things like that off of your shoulders. Like things that have happened in that way that can be kind of traumatic. Or if it's just like a funny, goofy story, like, you know, you got left with the bill, or some stupid idiot decided to, walk out on the bill and leave you to pay it. You know, those are also funny. They don't have to always be like super, super heavy stories. But yeah, I can't find the blush I was using by MAC, so I'm gonna put, I just seen it. So I'm gonna use some of this one by the new one by Natasha Denona. I don't know why. I think it's because I put powder on, and so I kind of took the blush away. Alright guys, I'm going to do my lashes and I will be back. Okay guys, this is the final look. I just need to put on my go-to, my Summer Fridays. So what I want you guys to do is tell me, one, your worst dating story, and two, your best. So if you're married or you have a boyfriend or you just had a really great date, tell me those stories, because I want to mix it in. I don't want it to be just like, oh, these horrible men, there's, no, I want it to be like, there's some good guys out there too. So let's talk about the good things too. So if you guys have an amazing dating story that you'd like to share, go ahead and add that too. And I think the horrible dating ones are just funny. They're just funnier. But I'm going to do one of each. So I'm going to do horrible dating stories, and then I'm going to do an amazing dating stories. And so hopefully, oh my gosh, I want to go look at this. Like, there's a mirror. So hopefully you guys have some good dating stories, and I'm sure you guys do. Like, even if it's not the person you're currently with, maybe back in the day you went on like an amazing date and it was just something that like stuck out to you and you just, want to share it. That would be amazing. So this is the final look I came up with using the Enchanted palette by Sigma, and I added a little bit of one of the special shades from the Ritualistic Rose palette. Just a tiny bit of the color on top. But yeah, so this is a really great palette. If you haven't seen it, it's great. It's not new, but yeah. So alright guys, I hope you guys have an amazing week. Well, an amazing day, an awesome week, and a marvelous month. And I hope that you're staying safe and sane, and that I'm providing some entertainment to you guys. So leave those stories below. Let's get to chatting about dating. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.